Okay, all set.
Ready to go?
Yep.
Welcome to the November meeting of the Northborough Conservation Commission. This is Greg Young. I'm the chair. This open meeting of the Northborough Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, the town of Northborough has been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. All members of the Northborough Conservation Commission are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows Northborough Conservation Commission to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Dan Clark.
Here.
Justin Dufresne.
Here.
Diane Goldner.
Here.
Todd Helwig.
Here.
Kelly Marston.
Here.
Good. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Mia McDonald.
Here.
David Kane.
Here.
Very good. Meeting business ground rules. I will invite each speaker or applicant on the agenda by name to make a presentation and speak to their application. Participants will provide their full name and hold until their name is called. Each speaker will be asked to mute their phone or computer when not speaking and to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate meeting minutes. Those responding will be asked to wait until the floor is yielded to them by the chair. Speakers who wish to respond to the comments of others do so through me, taking care to identify themselves. Each vote taken by the board or commission will be conducted by roll call vote. After members have spoken, we will afford public comment as follows. By phone, dial *9 to raise your hand and wait to be recognized by the chair. Please note that part of your phone number will be visible to those viewing the meeting. By Zoom, click Raise Hand on the bottom of your screen and wait to be recognized by the chair. I will ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify their names and addresses only. Once we have a list of all public commentators, I will call on each by name and afford 3 minutes for any comments. Okay, first item is meeting minutes, and we have September and October outstanding, Mia. September, we need Tom here because there were 4 of us present at that meeting and he was one of the 4. So we should push those out. The October meeting minutes, all 8 pages of them were just recently sent out to us. I don't know if folks have had time to review those. If not, we can just push those out till December also. I mean, I have not looked at them myself. Has anybody else had a chance to speed read? No. So let's just move those out. We should have a vote on that, Mia, to move them out? Or I'll just
No, we'll just consider them next month.
Okay, next month, fine. Notice of intent, 161 Church Street. And this would be Matt Morrow. So let me do a check here.
Excuse me for a minute. Do I have to read this opening?
Oh, you do, Diane. Very good.
In other words, it won't be legal if you don't let me do it.
We would, please do it.
Okay. This meetings will include the hearings pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, and the Northborough Wetlands Protection Bylaw. 4, notice of intent, 0 Lyman Street, map 86, parcel 2, by Commonwealth of Massachusetts / DCAM for the proposed demolition of existing structures, remediation of hazardous materials, removal of utilities, and associated site work. Danae.
Yep.
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, let's bring Matt Morrow in. Make him a panelist. Mhm. What happened? Did I lose him?
Hi, can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, yep, there you go.
Yeah,
We
I don't
see
know-
you, Matt. Yes, very
I
good.
don't know what had happened. All of a sudden, I just disappeared and rejoined. So
Yeah, it's saying it was very strange. He's dropped off the screen entirely here, so,
glad I could make it back.
okay.
Anyway, Matt Morrow, I am here representing the homeowner Raj Viswanathan. And as you know, we've been working on a design for a garage addition to the single family home at 161 Church Street. I don't know if you guys have a plan that you can share. Mia, that would be awesome if you could.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay.
So essentially, these are the basic schematics. I've done several iterations of this plan since over the course of the summer after we filed this. We have the initial proposed garage wound up being in floodplain. It wound up being within your no-touch zone. So we're looking to I'm sorry, what was that?
No, I think there was just some feedback somewhere, Matt. Keep going.
Oh, okay. So essentially, we're taking the garage out of that area. We've been looking for different configurations, and it's not even so much the garage, because if you're looking at the existing house 161, right where it says number 161, it looks like we have some room to add a garage there attached to the house. The applicant's actually willing to invest money to reconfigure the interior rooms in the house to accommodate the garage. The problem we're having now is properly siting a driveway. So we finally did get an answer from the Board of Health once you guys had a new health agent start on. She answered me like almost like probably her first day. The answer which I was expecting was that the driveway we had configured onto the plan based on my client's input wouldn't fly under Title V because it was going over the leach field. So what we're looking to do, if you're looking at the diagram, you see the areas from flags 12 through 16 on the top left corner.
Yep.
Now, we're not looking to go near those flags. We're looking to go on that side with the driveway coming off Church Street with the garage turned facing it, so it would be a drive under. In other words, the doors would not be facing Church Street. They would be facing the wetland itself. The input I wanted to ask for the commission tonight, while I finalize these plans, there may be an unavoidable minor intrusion into the no-touch zone. And I just wanted to talk to the commission about the potential for a waiver from that amount. I'm not exactly sure of the square footage yet. I don't think it's going to be overly obnoxious. And I'm going to try to keep it out of that area, obviously. But I just wanted some input on the commission because I plan on wrapping this thing up at your next meeting.
Yeah, first question here is this: does this new plan take away the flood zone issue?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So where would this intrusion be looking at the schematic now?
Actually, Mia, is it possible for me to share?
You should be able to share now.
Okay. Just looking for the right Here we go. Can you guys see that conceptual sketch okay?
Yep, yep.
Okay. You can see in the blue, we're going to take this garage where it touches the 35-foot zone and try to tweak it a little bit. So obviously that last little bit is out of the zone. Where you have the proposed bituminous concrete driveway where my cursor is waving over, in order to get that driveway in properly, it won't work because you have the septic and leach field in this area here, and it would intrude on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically turn this garage to the side, make sure that it's out of that no-touch zone area that's noted in blue. We're going to take the driveway and come off where my cursor is at an angle this way. But in order to come into the driveway, we may wind up brushing up here, right up either against or just a tad into that no-touch zone. I'm going to try to avoid it. If it winds up being in the hashed area where the floodplain is, it would be a very small amount and it would be at grade. So it wouldn't cause a filling on the floodplain. I just wanted to know how you guys felt about that, because I just want to go back with my client based on what you guys have for input.
Questions, comments?
And
Oh,
Matt,
Greg.
just wondering, is it the no touch zone or is it the
Floodplain, I'm sorry.
Floodplain. Okay.
It won't hit the no touch zone. I apologize. It's the floodplain I was referring about. I'm trying to eliminate every little last bit of that floodplain issue, which is why we're tweaking that garage out of the floodplain. But the driveway might nick that floodplain a little bit.
Is the floodplain considered federally jurisdictional?
Actually, it's state jurisdictional. The only thing is the floodplain doesn't have a 100-foot buffer zone, but there's obviously plenty of BVW to give it a 100-foot buffer zone. But essentially, the mitigation on the impact, if it does touch the floodplain, would be to do it at existing grade. So the plan would have to show what the existing grade is in the floodplain, and it would have to show on the plan that there wouldn't be any floodplain impact, meaning it would be built to grade. That's actually part of the reason why we haven't gotten a DEP number yet, is because they're waiting for our final version. And it's been kind of rough going between the COVID and me coming off my third quarantine, not being able to get out in the field as much. It's been a rough summer, but it looks like we're finally getting this down to a close.
So you'd be sliding to the no touch zone, but you'd be in the no build zone, right?
Your no structure zone is your 35 feet, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you follow my cursor, you see this dotted line right here?
Right.
That's your 35-foot no structure zone. I apologize. I misspoke earlier. Your blue dotted line here is the approximate edge of your bordering land subject to flooding. This area right here is where your floodplain basically ends right here. And that's per your overlay is right here. This red line is actually the floodway, not the floodplain. That's actually a lot more serious of an intrusion or something to go in there. And they had actually proposed a patio. That's been taken totally out of the picture because it would be in the floodway. So we're just going with the garage and a driveway coming in this way.
What is the inside yellow line? I see the outside yellow line says 100-foot buffer zone. I see the blue line is the limit of bordering land subject to flooding. What's the inner yellow line that's retaining the hashed lines?
You know what? That's a good question. I'm going to assume it's riverfront. Because there was riverfront associated with this property, but the structure is not in the riverfront.
But the riverfront has 100-foot, right?
Riverfront would have a 200. Well, this hash mark here, we're staying out of. This plan is actually a schematic. We would come in with something a little bit more specific more grading, stamped by the engineer. This is for illustrative purposes for you guys to see.
So your proposal here says the driveway is going to come off Church Street up where it says approximate limit of bordering, roughly where the bordering is, somewhere in there, the word. It's going to wrap inside and come into the proposed garage. So you'll be outside the 35,
Right,
right?
that's correct.
And you'll be touching the
We might touch this bordering land subject to flooding.
LSF piece.
We're trying to stay out of it, but it might just nick it.
I think that yellow line is our 35 foot. The inside yellow.
A little confusing here, colors and chat and this and that.
Yeah, so the blue dash is bordering land subject to flooding. The red dash is the floodway. And Greg, you had asked if it was federally regulated. That's the federally regulated floodway. And then I think
Yeah,
the
that's not a
inside
factor.
yellow, yeah, the outside is the 100-foot buffer and the inside yellow is the 35 because I can see the wetland flags.
Yeah, it could, because he has this pointing here. He may have just mislabeled it. So you could be
Yeah.
right, Mia. This may be mislabeled right here. But we want to stay out of this area right here.
Get out of the area. End
I'm
of
sorry.
solution, end of issue, right?
That's what I'm thinking. I just wanted to know how you guys felt if we just nicked this area, wound up nicking this area just a little bit. I mean, obviously, by the looks of it, you can see it wouldn't be a huge intrusion if it happened at all. I'm going to great lengths to avoid impacts. I pulled back her proposal. We've done several reiterations of this garage. She's actually going to put an extra, I think she said $20,000 or $30,000 into reconfiguring some of the rooms in her house to accommodate the garage.
Yeah, we're familiar with the property. It's a tough location because I mean, it's basically sitting in a floodplain, so it's sitting in a wetland area. So it's
Is that
Oh, yeah.
existing lawn where the
Yes,
new
it is.
driveway? Yeah, so it's no additional vegetation will be removed.
No,
I mean, at the bottom of the page there, where it says existing pool and patio, that's Gonzo. That was pulled out.
that is correct.
When you say you are going to possibly nick that area for the driveway, would you like to define that a little bit more? 5 feet, 10 feet, more or less?
We're talking about maybe 2 to 5 feet.
Would that require any replicating? Yeah,
In that area, essentially, it wouldn't require like any vegetation removal. What would happen here is that we would shoot the existing elevation of the bordering land subject to flooding at that blue dot and ensure that the grading of the driveway clearly shows that it is at the same elevation as the floodplain.
Yeah.
That's usually what the state would require in something on this smaller scale to mitigate any potential floodplain impact. Make sure it's at the same elevation.
thank you.
So, and I think I'm less concerned if this is just a floodplain issue, and I apologize if you've already answered this, but is it a 1 or a 2 car garage?
It's a proposed 2-car garage.
Okay.
Any other questions, commissioners? Comments? Concerns?
Feedback's great. This is great. This will be very useful for me to go back with the engineer to the client with, so I can wrap this thing up for you guys and get it wrapped up, in your standards.
My only concern is stuff coming, contaminants coming down the driveway and sheeting into the wetland area.
Mhm.
That's my only concern.
I can have the engineer draw a stone trench along that side of the driveway. So stormwater enters into there first. It would both dissipate energy for the initial slug flow coming off the driveway and do some minor amounts of retention for it. And you know, if you have a larger rainstorm, it would work as an energy dissipator as well.
Would that cause it to cut into that sensitive area more?
No.
Matt, it sounds like the commission isn't that nobody is particularly freaked out here, but I think we want to see a plan that's a little more granular than what's here and less confusing, which you understand.
Absolutely.
And we want to see what this NIC actually is. Hopefully there's none, but let's
I'm
take a look
going to try to avoid it. I mean, you know, part of the reason why this has been taking a while is because I've been trying to eliminate all of the impacts in these zones, and keep everything out in as benign an area as absolutely feasible, and still give my client some extra room. I mean, they have no intention of moving out of here anytime soon. Raj, the lady of the house, refers to it as her forever home. So I wanted to give them something to have some expanded functionality with, without, you know, I mean, she now realizes based on all of our interactions, just what the sensitivities are in this area. So
it's a tough location.
yeah, and it's been a good educational process for her as well. So.
Okay, so we want to, no more questions, comments. We need to continue this, correct, Mia? Since we opened the hearing.
Is that what you'd like, Matt? You'd like to request a continuance till next month?
Please and thank you.
Okay, I just got a blank screen here. Mia, you there? There we go. There, we're back. Okay, so we need a motion to continue the hearing to December.
So moved.
Second,
By Todd, second by Kelly. Roll call vote. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Diane Goldner,
yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
Yes.
and I will vote yes.
Is that second by Diane or Kelly?
Kelly.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Matt.
All right, guys, thank you very much. I really appreciate the input. It was very productive. Thank you.
Next month.
You bet.
Next on the agenda is 0 Lyman Street. And we have a few folks here. Bear with me, folks. Dan LaFrance. Jason Quecketh. And James Metz. I think that's it.
Yep, that's the team from this project.
There we go. Welcome.
Good to be here again. So last month, you guys gave us a negative determination for some of the structure demolition associated with the Westboro State Hospital campus. We're back with a notice of intent for several other structures, and you'll see that these have a little bit more of an impact in that they are within some of the buffer zones. So just to quickly walk through kind of what the proposal is, and then we can take any questions and talk through it. But just generally, DCAM is looking to decommission several derelict buildings on both sides of Lyman Street. And basically there are 6 buildings, 2 sewage pump stations on the western side of Lyman Street. And then on the eastern side, the most visible buildings, the power plant, the storage outbuilding that is partially collapsed along the side of the road, the farm office, which is a masonry building just to the south of the power plant. And then up on the hill, there are 2 large water tanks with some related water infrastructure. And, at the same time, we are going through the Westboro permitting process. There's one building over there as well that we are taking down, or proposing to take down under the same proposal. So the sewage pumps on the western side of Lyman Street, this is what they look like from across the street. There is a small structure, grinding pit on the backside of the smaller of the two pumps. From this view, this one's south, this one's north, and you're facing west toward Little Chauncey Lake. Our plan is to demolish the buildings themselves, the grinding pit, cut and cap the sewer line, both where it enters. The current main line goes from left to right across the, up on the left is the hill where the main campus used to be. So cut the line off where it enters the first of the sewage pumps, cut the line where it crosses Lyman Street as well, and not reflected in the plans as we had submitted them, but we are looking to change scope a little bit here. We were showing leaving the grinding pit in place and just cutting off and capping everything there. We'd actually like to remove the grinding pit as well. So generally the way that this area is set up, there's a small terrace right along the side of the road. Everything that we would do is up on that terrace. And, I changed the colors just so that they're easy to spot here. There is some bordering vegetated wetland going to the west associated with Little Chauncey Lake. And the 100-foot zone really kind of encompasses that whole terrace. And so, we're doing work, or we're proposing work in the setback, but laterally, the narrowest dimension here between our shown limit of work and the nearest wetland flag is about a little over 40 feet. And then, the work is going to be 10 feet vertically up on the terrace. And it's pretty clearly defined. When you're standing up there, there's a pretty steep drop at the edge. So we would just propose to control at the top edge of the terrace and not go anywhere near the wetlands themselves. And, as I said, we're showing a change of plan here to remove the grinding pit and move the cut and cap just to the other side of it. So we'd be a little bit closer, but we're still proposing to stay up on that terrace. Then when it comes to the power plant and some of the other structures, so the storage building is this one that's collapsed on the side of the road. You can see it when you drive by. The power plant is kind of the largest and most obvious structure. And in the back, there's what they call, a pole barn or a pole shed. Last month, we talked about removing a couple of those that are elsewhere on the campus. It's the same sort of construction where it's just up on, the structural members are telephone poles effectively. So we would be taking the sheet metal sides and roof off and then plucking the telephone poles. It's all, again, upland area, but very close to water. You can see that there's, open water nearby. So again, to highlight the resource areas, there is a delineated wetland on the north side. This is a swamp that was recently created by some beaver activity over the last couple of years. And, using that line and drawing a 50-foot or 100-foot setback, really the primary impact is in the pole barn area here. It's this building here. Everything else is upland. And we're proposing to protect the existing drainage structures that appear to discharge downhill. And we'll be doing most of our work, be doing all of our work behind erosion controls, and most of it well outside of the 100-foot limit to take these buildings down. And then we have the water tanks that are up on the hill, but in order to get there, flipping back a little bit, we do have to cross through a low spot over here. And, as I mentioned, there was some beaver activity that has created some localized flooding over the last about 10 years or so. That's kind of ramped up. So what we're planning to do is control on the road, and then, we can add controls as needed if we're doing work in the wet. We are thinking that we may, actually lower the water level by, clearing out the culvert. Part of the culvert is blocked. We may have some opportunity to do some other things there, but either way, we're going to have to at least reinforce over the culvert and then cross through this area, and we'll do whatever we need to do to make it safe and clean to cross through there. And then once we're up on the other side of the hill, we're up out of the flooded area, and we're up out of any resource areas, and everything else that we're doing, the tanks are up at the top of a hill, probably 100 feet higher than the swamp elevation. So everything else is well outside of any resource areas. So.
Yeah, we walked that site. The concern, I think, the main concern that I had was the crossing. Everything else seems to be pretty well away from the wetlands or upland or whatever. That crossing, is that going to be wide enough for the equipment you're going to need to bring down those towers, those tanks? You need some pretty big stuff to get up there, right?
We do, but I mean, there's an entire, it's a passable travel lane. We have the width to be able to do it. The main question that we have is the weight, and that's why we would put, a reinforcement, steel plates over the culvert to make sure that the weight doesn't become an issue. But realistically, we're talking about, small cranes that are, you see them on highways driving, around to job sites and things like that. They're, sometimes slightly wide loads, but they're passable on interstate highways and things like that. We have, an actual travel lane here that we can actually use. So as long as it can handle the weight, we can get the equipment up here. And there are some concerns about, making swing radius for, some of that equipment on the hill. We have to do a little bit of, shoulder widening and things like that. But again, that's all outside of resource areas and just done up on the side of the hill.
What about protection along the sides of that driveway, that roadway, so that there's no sort of oil spill or any sort of liquid spill into the wetlands from the vehicles that are crossing it?
So
go ahead, Dan.
So assuming that we do bring the water level down, we are going to run, lines of erosion controls up both sides. And what we're thinking is a combination of, straw wattles and a silt fence, with the wattles on the inside and the silt fence behind on each side. And so if there were to be some sort of spill on the roadway or something like that, it would be contained within the roadway and, prevented from actually getting out to anywhere. And it also kind of serves the purpose of, if the water level were to rise, it prevents any siltation. If the road gets wet, where does the water go? It's filtered before it leaves. So James, I'm not sure if you were going to add anything to that.
I was going to generally provide a similar response. The other thing, again, we want to also emphasize too, as we talked about on the site walk, to the extent that it's practical, and it obviously, depends on what kind of year we have next year so far as precip and so on. But, we are focused on trying to do the work with a dry road. However, we're going to have the ENS controls flanking both sides of the road. If we need additional environmental controls, if the road is damp or wet, then we're certainly willing and going to be able to utilize those. But we want to emphasize that, our focus is to use the ENS controls to flank the road. And if it's practical, to the extent that it's practical, do this project when this road is fairly dry and not inundated.
Any question from the commission?
I do. How tall and what size are those tanks that you're going to take down, and how do you take them down?
So I have to be honest with you, I don't recall the exact height of those tanks. I want to say that they're somewhere of an elevation of probably 50 to 60 feet in the air right now. I don't remember the exact quantity of water that used to be in them. There's been numerous ways that contractors do it. We had a recent project at the former Worcester State Hospital to where they used a crane to lift cut pieces of that tank down to the ground. Essentially, that's all up to a contractor's means and methods for taking it down.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a couple of questions, Greg.
Good, Dan.
About the wetland, I guess itself. It says beaver have been there since around 2010. Do you know if the site's active right now?
I would have to hazard a guess that it is active right now.
The flooding that we have in the picture there, is that flooding caused by a block culvert or a freestanding dam? Or
It
both?
is actually caused from a block culvert. They have the inlet and outlet blocked on the culvert itself. If you go in approximately 15 to 20 feet, the beavers have built up enough to where it's allowed the water level to rise just that little bit more to run over the top, and then they block the culvert. We can see one or two, I don't remember what you call the beaver houses out there, but
Lodges.
lodge. Thank
Yep.
you.
What's the length of that flooded area? How long a stretch is it?
So in that photo, you're probably looking at a little less than 100 feet, but that was also, that was taken around about May 5th. We had a very wet spring. So this is, the absolute worst case scenario wet season. When we were out there last week, the road was dry basically the whole way across. There were a few damp sections, but we don't have, consistent water running across at this time of year, the way that you're seeing it now. So, I mean, this was really kind of the over the top condition, not really the, and speaking to Jim's point, we're trying to do this on a, time of year when it tends to be lower water, and, we're not trying to do it under these kind of conditions. We'd be trying to time it to be, not the highest of high water season.
Okay, so the idea is you would pull the culvert, see if you can get the water down off the road, dry out the road a little bit, access the towers and get out of there. Is that sort of what you had in mind?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
You good, Dan?
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else? Any other commissions have questions, comments, concerns? Mia, anything from your side before I see if we have any, do we have any butters other than state or SVT or somebody?
We should seek public comment, but I have no comments. They've addressed all my questions.
Are there any public comments we have? I know we got a few participants here. I'm looking through, see if I see any hands raised. I do not. Okay. Time frame for this is probably similar to the last one. It takes a while, right, before putting the bid together, getting the bid out, reviewing it, having questions, awarding it, and starting. So best case, when would you like to kick this off? Actually start doing the work with the chosen vendor?
This would be next construction season. Ideally, we're bidding it over the winter and starting in the spring. Obviously, we've got a decent amount of work to do here. It's going to take several months to accomplish everything. So, we want to make the best use we can of next construction season.
Okay. All right.
Greg, I wouldn't anticipate mobilization until after June time period for this area.
Okay. Have you and me are synced up around the beavers and all that?
Mia and I are going to talk very soon about the beavers. We are finalizing our internal discussions within DCAM so that we can figure out how and what way we need to go. And then I will be contacting Mia.
All right. No more questions then. I guess we can move to close the hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Seconded by Diane. We will take a roll call vote to close the hearing. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Diane Gouldner,
yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
Yes.
and I also vote yes.
And I would make a motion to issue an order of conditions for 0 Lyman Street for the DCAM project.
Any special conditions?
Not for me.
Okay.
Second.
Second.
Come on, somebody wants to say. I heard a second in there. Is that Justin?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, very good. We'll go through a roll call vote again. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Diane Goldner,
Yes,
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Kelly Marston.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Very good, folks.
Thank you all very much. We look forward to getting this all going, and we'll see you guys at the pre-construction site visit.
I think the big issue you're going to have is getting rid of all those cars that are there.
Yeah, well, we'll work on that.
Okay. All right, very good. Thank you.
Thank
you.
you,
Y'all have a good
everybody.
one.
Stay safe, be well.
Same to you. Thank you. Get these people back where they should be here. What was interesting, we learned from that site walk, is that site, all those cars there, that's the sole disposal site for all state-owned vehicles. So there's police cars and ambulances and you name it. They auction them off. Some are in good shape, some are collector's items. Anyway. All right. Mia, what about the extension for the order condition for Lyman Street, 40 Lyman, Bartlett Pond?
Oh, yeah. Yep. So we just signed the contract to get the pond treated this spring. Remember, everything got pushed back because of COVID.
Yep.
But I just wanted to request to extend the order conditions. It expires on February 13th, 2021. And so you can have a discussion if you're thinking about your standard is a 1-year extension. We could just revisit it every year. But it would be a shame if it expired. It'd be a lot of work to do a new NOI.
How long is the funding for? Is that for multiple years?
It is. Yep, you got CPC money to do treatment every year because your goal is now to try to eradicate the issues out there. So we'll be visiting it every year. So I would recommend a 3-year extension, but if you feel comfortable with a 1, we can revisit it every year.
Comments, that questions, 3-year, 1 year? 2 year,
would-
Kelly? You're on mute.
I don't know. At first I thought
2 year
3.
one.
Yeah, at first I thought 3, but I like the 3-year extension because it seems like a lot of work to just do year to year back.
Concerns with a 3-year extension?
My only suggestion, if you do it annually, just sort of a chance to take a look at the project every year, see if
That's the
things are on
side of
track.
it, right? Yeah. I mean, the 3-year piece does coincide with the funding piece, but the 1 year, you at least have a chance to mid-course correct if you have to.
Yeah, that's my suggestion.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Do you want to see if there's any public comment?
Public comment. I'm looking through attendees. I don't see hands up. Nope. No public comment. So if we want to go with a 1 year, I see a lot of nodding heads here. If anybody is hard for a 3-year, we can talk about it. But if we want to go with the 1 year, let's get a motion going on that one and get that closed.
I move that we do a 1-year extension on.
40
on-
Lyman.
Pardon?
Okay. 40 Lyman. Yep.
Yes,
Second.
Second by Todd. Roll call vote. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Diane Goldner,
yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yep.
Kelly Marston,
Yep.
and I also vote yes. Done.
Thank you.
Let's look at the agenda here, man. I'm trying to think what we want to do here. Do we want to? I'd almost like to get that informal discussion done first, and we can get into. I think 'cause we may have more conversation around some of the COCs.
Does anyone need to leave by a certain time? Because the COCs need the votes.
Good point. Everybody's here for the duration. Okay.
I have to leave at 8:30.
Or you do, Kelly.
I can take it on my phone.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay, then let's it's 7:15. 7:15. Let's jump into the informal quickly because I think it's going to be pretty quick, and we'll come in. Okay, so I'm going to bring Brian Waterman in. Except I don't see him. Hold on.
He's Brian W. He has his hand raised, I think.
Brian, you're promoted to special to panelist. You're muted, Brian.
There we go.
Here he is.
How's everyone doing?
Good.
Good.
Yep, we're all looking pretty good. So, Brian, 2 Beeman Road.
Yes. Yeah, this is the DN Van Lines building. It's across the street from the big FedEx building on down Beeman.
Oh, okay. Okay.
This was a subject of an RDA we had with you guys in 2017 for some parking expansion off the west side of the building. We also did some water quality improvements with deep sump catch basins and subsurface infiltration system. So the owners right now, they really need to expand the building. As you may recall, they store personal items for military families that are.
That's what I remember. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they're in these containers, and there's a racking system inside this building. So it's a pretty specialized application. So they asked us to kind of look at some alternatives. And the first one was, could you expand out front? But with setbacks and parking and other things, it just doesn't meet the building size requirement.
Isn't there a big retention pond out in front too?
Down, yes, off to the side there is, to the northeast corner. Good memory, Greg.
Do you want me to share the plan that you sent, Brian?
I think Mia has it, yes.
Okay.
Yep, there you go. So you can see, yeah, you can, as Greg just pointed out, you can see there's an existing detention basin in the front. You have the front zoning setback and then and parking. So yeah, that's the basin there. So then, the question was, could you go to the east, just extend the building linearly to the east, but you have the existing septic system. We also have the groundwater overlay. And the other issue there is that with the way the building is constructed in the racking system, going lengthwise, you're essentially almost creating, if you extended your house and made just one giant long hallway, so the space is not overly usable. So the option is to go to the back. They wanted to go the full length of the building if they could, but I mentioned that there is an isolated wetland out there in the back. It was created whenever the back gravel area there was removed, and they've left a low spot there. Looking at the trees, it's probably 15 to 20 years, but so what we're showing here is the maximum, the building that would align with the way their trucks enter the front of the building, and also the way the access route for the building, the trucks getting in, and then the racking system that's currently employed in the building. So this would propose 3,400 square feet of filling the west end of the isolated wetland, and retaining the higher quality deeper end. That deeper end that you see there that we're trying to retain, which is about 2,084 square feet, is approximately 6 to 8 inches deep when it does have water in it. And the stuff to the west is anywhere from 2 inches to 6 inches of water. So what we're proposing is to replicate at a 1.5 to 1 ratio to the right, going to the east, and create a micro pool there. Try to, while we're in there, create some additional habitat. There is a good upland area that surrounds this. You've got the Commonwealth of Mass land to the south, and then Crane Swamp is part of the wetland system that's down to the east. And there's actually part of the East Cole Trail runs across the property down along the swamp down there to the east. That wetland, I think, is about 600 feet away from where we are. So we wanted to discuss this with the commission. The isolated wetland, like I said, it's I just reflagged it a month or so ago. There's really no organic soil associated with this wetland. It's where gravel was removed. They left a low spot. It might have been compacted, or they've intercepted it. It's probably a combination of compacted soils and just the intercepting some seasonal high groundwater at times. So the idea would be to expand to the east at 1.5 times the ratio, create something higher quality, potentially some habitat, and see if we could, if this is something the commission would entertain. The applicants obviously don't want to leave this spot, and so and there are not a lot of other options. I think, this might be a good one if Mia has time, or any of the other commission members, if you wanted to see it and walk it informally, just so you get a feel for what I'm talking about as far as the quality of this wetland. And the area we are trying to save is the deeper part with a lot more of a desirable vegetation community compared to what's to the west.
And this is the moving company on Beaman Street across from the FedEx building, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah. And then there's another large building at the end of the cul-de-sac there. I can't.
Iron Mountain. Because we had some conservation items there a couple years ago too.
Yeah. They have more stuff out back on the side there. Yeah. So this would be a replication area, again, at about 5,110 square feet. In conjunction with the 2,000 we would retain of the deeper end of that isolated pocket, and the the higher quality vegetation there. So I think it's a simple one to construct, actually, and we'd be maintaining the wooded area to the east and south, which would, if there are critters, we can maybe get them to utilize this area. But so that's what we wanted to discuss and get your feedback.
Questions from the commission? Comments?
I had a question on the plan. What is that? Looks like a trail or a road that goes down the east side of the wetland. What is that?
There's a footpath that runs through that area, Dan. Yeah, Mia, if you can slide. Yeah, there's a footpath that goes there. Part of the, let me see what it's called, the East Cole Trail. It's off the side of this plan. It's about 500 feet to the east. That's part of that trail that runs along the Crane Swamp. But this is just a path that runs from the Commonwealth of Mass land and cuts through the property. Most of it's overgrown now. That's not actually part of the Cole Trail. That's several hundred feet to the east.
Okay. Is there water in this wetland year round?
No. When we flagged this back in, I think it was 2016, it was a very wet spring, and I actually did a vernal pool study. I think Mia had asked, or the commission, if there was potentially any species in this, and that area that we're retaining gets about 6 to 8 inches deep of water.
Mm-hmm.
But there were no signs of critters at the time, and I don't think it holds water for the 2-month hydro period. Typically,
Mm-hmm.
typically you need at least 12 to 15 inches of water. to see it last that kind of a, depending on what the substrate is. Here it's very stony and gravelly. If you do an auger in here, it's difficult to dig because it's so stony and gravelly. But that's why we're trying to do a micro pool there off the side that would, get this area to a foot to 15 inches deep. They may not utilize it, but at least it gives them an opportunity. If there are critters, they might have an area now that does hold the water for the hydro period. But again, this was an area that you can see the banking in the back here and up to the side. They just had removed gravel from there. I'm not sure if they were using it for other areas on site, and hard packed it a bit, and also, may intercept seasonal high groundwater. So at times that end we are trying to maintain has about 6 to 8 inches of water into it.
More questions, concerns? Nothing else?
I guess, Brian, one thing I'm wondering too, just when that area gets filled in, with that added building square footage and everything, are there any thoughts for stormwater now with about 20,000 square feet more of impervious out here?
Right. Yeah, we'd be looking at, potentially some either tying back into the other. I think they oversized the infiltration system they did before, or potentially we'd have to add some more.
You said pretty gravelly kind of soils anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty good
Yeah.
stuff. Any thought, I guess, one other thing too, just with there's kind of a paved area there. I guess if you pan the plan to the left a little bit further, do they utilize all that parking and everything? So there's no way this building could shift.
Well, yeah.
To the left.
Is this Justin I'm speaking?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Justin. That was actually the parking expansion for 2017.
Oh.
And there's a bay door at the very end of that building. So the trucks actually travel through one end to the other, going north to south there and into that parking. They would probably have to lose some of the deep spaces there. I think we have a note there, remove parking within 5 feet of the building. So we'd be restriping that for some of the employee parking and some of the truck parking. And, potentially there is the area where we have the block retaining wall right off the back edge, of the building, of, potentially moving that out and doing a long linear infiltration system, or putting something back under the parking. We'd have to have our engineer run some calcs and see where we stand. And again, I think the system that they did, you can see in the kind of the top left corner of the picture there, the subsurface infiltration system that was put in 2017. Yeah, in that area. That was the new one that picked up some of the, we added deep sump catch basins, replacing some of the old drainage system that was in this area. But yeah, that's something that would have to be addressed. This doesn't qualify under the state DEP regulations, but it does under the local bylaw. But we'd still have to meet stormwater to the greatest extent practicable and under the local stormwater policy.
You all set, Justin?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Anybody else? Mia, any 2 cents from your side?
No questions at this point.
Okay. So Brian, there you go. Sounds like there's a couple of points.
I'm sorry, my dog just barked.
I thought that was
That wasn't me.
okay. Get some feedback in a couple of areas there, but
Yeah.
no, you can take that. And you told me look in December, or
No, it'd probably be after that. By the time we get the engineering drawings and everything. I mean, we need your deadline is what, the end of this month? Right. And I think we're trying to get West Street filed with you guys too. So yeah, this would probably be after that. So January. File in December for January, if that makes sense.
all
I'll have to talk to the client, but I think that will be the game plan, yeah.
Anybody who's in the area, take a walk and take a look at the area to find it. So it's pretty, once you're getting back, it's pretty evident there.
Yeah, and it's got fresh flags. You know, I would just ask that you either let me know or I'll let the client know, just so they know you're walking out back, or I can meet you there if you'd like. So either way.
All right, very good.
Awesome.
Thank you, Brian.
you. Have a nice Thanksgiving.
You too. Stay well.
Bye-bye.
Okay. So let's go into the certificates of compliance, Mia. Carriage Hill Road, Sarah Roach. Let's see if she's here and we'll. I do not see her.
We told her she didn't have to come. It was a very straightforward project, residential, just trying to expand their lawn. The work was completed. They added boulders. They stayed out of the 25 and 35. Greg and I visited it. Mhm.
It's good.
Beautiful grass, site's fully stable.
Question from the commission? You want to see pictures, if we have pictures or
I think so. It'll just take me a minute to pull them up.
Oh, yeah.
This is when the erosion controls were still in place, but
Yep.
it's fully stabilized. Can you see them?
Yep. And this is actually, they put rocks in, they brought some boulders in. A lot of lawn. Okay.
It's mow. It's beautiful. They did a nice job. It's fully stable.
Good. Anybody have any questions on 10 Carriage Hill Road? If not, let's have a motion.
Move to issue certificate of compliance for 10 Carriage Hill Road, DEP 2471174.
Second,
Second by Diane, roll call vote. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Diane Gouldner,
yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Okay.
I'm going to skip down here for a second because I think the second one might be a little more discussion. 407 Whitney, Mia, what's with that?
Okay, so you can hear me. So I received the plan. I will share the screen today. It looks fine. I just wanted to show you. This is a single family house. I guess this is when I think in between Kayla and I, when Fred was your staff, that the lawn went a little too far and it was kind of an after the fact filing. It got things buttoned up. They did submit got an as-built and submitted a statement from the engineer. Just that, and this first deviation, the paver patio, they did contact us about that. And that was an approved insignificant project change. There are some drains, a crushed stone parking spot, and a driveway is a little wider than intended. And the drains are just catching the sheet flow coming down, because this is at the bottom of a hill. It comes down the street in sheet flow. So he's just trying to get it off the lawn. So just want to make sure you're okay with those changes. The site is stable. It's been stable for some time. They were just waiting on the as-built.
The changes are all additive to the process here, right?
Yes. They were having some blowouts up high as they were trying to get the grass to take. The water coming off the hill was just too much. So they put the drains in to try to slow things down and get the grass to grow.
Any questions, comments?
Move to issue a certificate of compliance for 407 Whitney Street, DEP file 247-1145.
Second,
Second.
seconded by Justin. Roll call vote. Dan Clark,
Yes,
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Diane Goldner,
yes,
Todd Hellwig,
Yes.
Kelly Marston.
Yes.
I'll vote yes also. Kelly, your little friend there does not get a vote. Sorry. Very good. Okay, so that's 407 Whitney. Let's go to 90 West Main. 90 West Main. Mitch, I've got you. I'm going to bring you in as a panelist. Okay, Mitch Goddard. Mitch from Goddard Consulting is joining us. Mitch Matslanka. You with us, Mitch? Not yet. I see you. You're muted. You're not muted. There he is.
All right, here we go.
Very good. All right.
Okay. You ready?
Let me do Mia here. Mia, give us a little bit of a background on this.
So they applied for a certificate of compliance, and when we got out there, we found that there had been the order had previously been in like 1995 for a drain pipe, and there was fill associated with the drain pipe, and there was supposed to be some replication. So I just put that back out there to the owner. Since then, the owner has passed, and now the owner's representative is the daughter who has inherited it. They're working with Goddard and Cornerstone to come up with a plan to get the site right so that they can get the certificate of compliance and sell. So the last month they came in and you guys worked with them to create a plan to issue a friendly enforcement order to cover the pipe. And at that point, you had sought a notice of intent for the wetland replication work. And since then, they've requested this opportunity to come back and request to do the replication under the enforcement order, to modify the enforcement order. So we'll see if that's still their request. But I did reach out to Kim Roth from Mass DEP, and she said this would be a perfect opportunity to use a friendly enforcement order to require them to do the replication. We just need some really good plans that we can refer to in that enforcement order.
For the replication.
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yep. So, yep, Mia summed it up pretty well there. So last time we were here, we requested that we file the notice of intent for the replication area. Since then, we've had some changes. The buyers are requesting that they no longer file an NOI. So before the purchase of the property. So we're put in a situation where we'd like to request that the current owner, Lori, be able to create the wetland replication area under the enforcement order. So would that be acceptable by the commission?
Well, DEP says it's okay, Mia, right?
Yes. We
Now,
just
there's
need
some
some.
discussion this morning. No work was done, Mitch, on the wetland replication today, was?
No. So we started the pipe work, but we have not touched the replication area. The pipe work went pretty well today. We have a bit left to do with final grading and stuff like that. But yeah.
No, I did see Mia forwarded me some information saying there was one piece I just wanted Brent to mention to you that didn't sit really well with me. It was kind of a, here, we're going to do this if we don't hear back from you.
Yeah. We
I know
were.
that doesn't fly.
Yeah, we're sorry for that. I do apologize for that, but it was, yeah. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Water under the bridge, moving forward. All right, so we can go ahead under the friendly EO and allow for the replication to take place. We've seen the replication area. We're fine with that. What about the plan, Mia? Do you want the plan first, or?
I do need a plan. You know, the sequence of that is up to you guys. If you want to allow me to administratively approve the plan, I did let Mitch know, but that was like today. So I don't think he has had time to do that. This is what we have so far. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Let me share that. Can you see it okay? So this is the location, so you could approve the location. What we would need is like profiles, horizons, and sequencing to go along with this.
In one of my emails today, I sent you a packaged wetland replication area planting plan dated today. And it gives a sequence, a 10-step sequence, you know, who's supervising, the timing. I'll be supervising. As far as timing goes, we'd like to do it as soon as possible. We'd be putting the plants in. It's not growing season anymore for these plants, so they'd be put in, and they'd be there for the springtime. When it starts to get warm, they'll start growing. First, we'd stake out the limits of work, put in those erosion controls around the back there, right up against the wetland line. We're proposing a seed mix to go in there and plants. As far as grading goes, there was redoxamorphic features right up to the soil surface. So there's about 4 inches of an A horizon. We're proposing to take out those top 4 inches of dark, mixed organic and mineral soil. We're going to propose removing those and putting in 4 inches of composted loam to give the plant a good opportunity to grow. And we've got our planting plan up there on the screen right now. There's 1 red maple tree. We've got 3 winter berries and 3 silky dogwoods. Right along the border of the BVW, there are some silky dogwoods and winter berries that will match in quite well with our supplemental plantings. Same with the red maple. There's some Japanese knotweed over by flag number 5 that we're proposing on taking out. And we'll keep that closely monitored to make sure that doesn't come back. So I believe that, it kind of sums up what Mia was requesting, the sequence. As far as soil horizons go, I can add that to that plan, just in a clear table for you, Mia, if you want that. So yeah, other than that, I think that answered Mia's requests.
I didn't see it, sorry.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's very, very complete. And this area was already approved back in '95 on the original order of conditions, correct?
Not this location.
Not
but
this location.
yeah, but as far as it was filled, and we had a previous plan that showed it was originally going to replicate up near where the pipe is, but the wetlands have receded. So we've selected this new location.
Yep. And the beginning part of that report I just provided explains the filled area and how, we're switching away from the originally proposed wetland replication area, and we're choosing a new area that's more suitable for the replication work to happen and be a success.
I've seen the area too. Me and I saw that area with you out there, Mitch.
Yep.
A couple weeks ago. It does look like it's the best area for that. Questions from the commission? Comments?
Yeah. So just because DEP says we can do it this way doesn't mean that it's in fact a good idea. It seems like we spent like an hour talking about this and ultimately doing what they wanted us to do. And now we're going in a different direction. And I guess the question I would have, and it seems to be a theme for tonight, is what leverage are we going to have if it doesn't happen in the spring? I mean, we're not going to sue them over this, right? We're just going to, if it doesn't happen, we're just going to say, oh, well, shucks, and send them a nasty letter and put it in the file. But this way, we at least have a check on making sure that it gets done the way we've told them it should be done.
So go ahead.
So just to respond there. So our plan would be to do it, to do the work as soon as the enforcement order would be to be amended. So that would be the hope. We wouldn't wait till spring to do the work. Yeah, what were you going to say, Mia?
So we did record, I just sent off the enforcement order. It is recorded on the deed. So right now they have an open order, and then hopefully momentarily, in the next couple of days, I'll have an enforcement order both recorded on the deed. And the reason, I understood, I might be wrong, please correct me if I'm wrong, but last month they had requested the enforcement order for just the coverage of the pipe. And then they wanted to do an NOI because they wanted the new owners to do an NOI, and the new owners planned to include the replication and some site work they were planning on, because that garage has some significant structural damage. So now I'm understanding that the new owners, they're not ready for their NOI. And the old owner is like, well, I don't want to wait. I want to get this replication done now. So that's what has changed from last month, is that the new owners don't want to move forward on an NOI with any additional site work, and the old owner wants to move forward on the replication. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, he is correct.
So Todd, it sounds like we'd have some leverage with that next NOI that's coming in for the site work for the new owner.
And the enforcement order will stay as well. So once they complete the replication, so that's what we have to talk about next is, this is a request for certificate of compliance. And so that's a separate issue. Right now, we're talking about, do we modify the enforcement order to allow them to move forward with the replication work? And I do recommend that we allow them to move forward with the replication work. Then they can satisfy that old order. At what point do we consider it satisfied? Because, and you can see in the sequence, this is something I always look for, is replication monitoring, steps 9, that we have to see replication monitoring for 2 seasons. And that we also have to have a 75% revegetation. So are you going to be, you could lift the enforcement order once, I don't know when we would lift the certificate of compliance and lift the enforcement order. Would we do it after the 2 years? Maybe a letter to the bank or a conversation with the buyer's bank explaining that, the site's in compliance, even though it still has an old order and an enforcement order on there. I'm not sure.
So I guess I am comforted by the fact that there would be something in the record title that someone would see. And I guess also at the end of the day, Mia, if you're happy, I'm going to be happy with this.
Yeah. So the enforcement order tonight is to modify the enforcement order to move forward with the replication work. Step 2, Mitch, where do you want to start us to consider lifting the old order and lifting the enforcement order?
So we would appreciate if we could get the pipe work to be completely done with as soon as it's stabilized. So if it's possible to get a partial certificate of compliance for the pipe work, that would be prime. That way we can be done away with the pipe work, and all that's left under that order of conditions is the replication area, which we'd request the final certificate of compliance once the monitoring is complete. And I'm guessing the enforcement order would be lifted at that same time. So that would come in 2 years.
Okay. So the proposal in front of you then would be, number 1, will you issue an enforcement order to allow the replication to proceed? Then probably next month, we would review that COC request again regarding the pipe work, and it would become a partial COC. And then 2 years from now would be the full COC and lifting the enforcement order. So remaining on the deed would be an active order of, lapsed, but an order of conditions and enforcement order remain on the deed.
Would that cause issues for the new owner?
They at this time they are fine with assuming the work for the monitoring work. Right now the seller, she is going to leave some money for the buyers to be able to afford the monitoring and the certificate of compliance in the future.
And as far as we're concerned, the new owners would be responsible. Once they purchase the property, they are responsible for the 75% revegetation. So, that would be a private matter that they would work out with their lawyers as to who's responsible monetarily. But as far as the commission is concerned, we'd hold the new owners responsible once they purchase it.
Do we have any idea when the new NOI would come in, or would you guys even be involved in that, I guess?
So at the moment, they want to wait until the purchase of the property is complete. So seeing how we're expecting the pipe work to be closed out by next month, potentially, I'd say early next year, but I can't confirm that. You know, I haven't spoken with the buyers in quite some time about that. So I can't confidently say when you would expect the next NOI.
Any more questions from the commission? Concerns or comments?
I just say from my end, I like the approach. I think it seems good. I mean, we've got them here now. If they're gonna, basically commit to doing the replication work now, they're building the pipe. We'll give the partial COC on the pipe and then follow up with a full COC once the monitoring's done. I mean, it seems to me like a good approach on this one.
Any other comments? Okay. And Todd, you feel you're good? You feel we have some leverage still with the pending NOIs?
Sure. It's not a confident sure, but sure.
All right. Then we need a motion. Let's see, we need a motion to.
I want to review this with you guys, make sure I got it. Okay, so the first is to modify the enforcement order to allow for the replication and remove the requirement for the NOA for the replication. So that you would need a motion and a vote for. Then they'd be coming back next month with a request to issue a partial certificate of compliance for the pipe work. And then they would come back in 2 years to lift the enforcement order and the full certificate of compliance.
You only need a motion for the first thing.
That's right. I just want to make sure that I had it all right. That's a consensus.
Then I will make the motion for the first thing.
Okay, to modify the enforcement order.
Yep.
Second.
Seconded by Kelly. Roll call vote. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Diane Gouldner,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Kelly Marston.
Yes.
I will vote yes. Okay.
All right.
We're all set.
All right. All
Right.
set? All right, great. Thank you very much, everyone. And again, I apologize for that spur of the moment, going to do the work, but pulling out. All right. So thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
too. Okay. Partial certificate of compliance for 0 Green Street. Let me see who we have to bring on for this one. Rod St. Pierre and Vito Coloni. Let's see. Okay.
I don't see any. It might be the phone.
No. Is Rod St. Pierre or Vito Colonna on the call? If you're on the phone, please raise your hand.
Rod did call in last month.
Let me go ahead and see if this is him.
Okay.
Mr. St. Pierre. Vito Colonna. That's all I got. 2.
We did get a phone call today. I was working from home, but I was told that a abutter called in and said they wanted the ability to speak during this discussion. So I don't know if you want to take public comment. And by the way, we have received no new information. I checked with Fred. No movement has been made on who will be doing the maintenance. No further discussions.
Okay, so we have no participants. You gave us an update. We will move on.
Did you want to take a public comment? I see someone from that area.
Well, yes, okay. Is that Rick Bello?
And Doug Radigan, he's raising his hand.
He is raising his hands. First time I say, okay, so we're going to bring him on. Doug Radigan, promote to panelist, and also Rick Bello, promote to panelist. Mr. Bello, Mr. Radigan, you're both muted.
Good evening.
Unmuted. Very good.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Doug Radigan speaking.
Okay, Doug.
I will be brief since it appears that the moving party has not appeared, but my name is Doug Radigan. I am at 311 Main Street at Bowditch and Dewey. I represent the Grennans, who are the direct abutters to the property at issue here. And the reason we decided to participate this evening is because we disagree with the characterizations that were made at last month's CONCOM meeting with respect to where things are with respect to the common drive and the completion of that common drive. And I don't want to take up too much of this committee's time because it doesn't appear that you'll likely be moving forward tonight without a moving party. But I'd be remiss if I didn't point out to the fact that the party that's actually seeking this partial compliance with the order of conditions is in fact the original declarant, and they have not yet satisfied the requirements of the common drive. I represent only one of the owners on Green Street. There are 4 other properties that are impacted by these circumstances. We do not agree that there is any agreement imminent between the parties, and there is in fact a dispute as to whether or not Mr. Silver, in his capacity as trustee of the Green Street Realty Trust, is still responsible for completing the road, because this road was not in fact ever finished. The property that he has asked for a partial release on the order of conditions is property that was part of that original plan that was submitted by Mr. Silver. It has and is both burdened by and touches and concerns the areas in dispute. And we would ask that you take no action on this request unless and until the neighbors are in agreement and there is in fact a plan to complete what needs to be done on Green Street. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Mr. Bello.
Yes, good evening. I have joined the call simply because I'm one of the neighbors. I'm in fact the immediate neighbor of Mr. Radigan's client. I'm merely here to represent myself as one of the neighbors in this dispute.
Okay. Do you have a specific opinion or comment around the issue?
Well, the dispute relates around the completion of the road, and I think as Todd Helwig pointed out last time, I think that any release or any partial compliance would essentially result in loss of leverage in terms of completion of this road, which, as Mr. Radigan pointed out, was never really completed.
No doubt. We took it right up there during site visits this past week, and the road is clearly not done, and some of the basins aren't cleaned out and so forth. So there's work to be done from what I saw anyway. Okay, very good.
Is there any additional public comment before we move on? I don't know who called.
Yeah, I know. I've asked that person to unmute several times. I'm not getting any progress there. So
okay.
Going once, going twice, 3 times. They're out. Mr. Radigan and Mr. Bello, thank you very much for your comments. I will now move you back to an attendee.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
So do you want to continue the item or I guess you could also vote not to issue it.
I'm sorry, I'm doing some housework here, Mia. Give me a
Take your
give me a
time.
second. Okay. All right, I think we're good. So I can't get this person here, the phone number, off the screen.
Well, they can't photobomb. That's
Yeah. Dave, do you know why I can't get that person off? They show as an attendee.
Are you looking to just mute them, or what is, I mean,
They're muted now.
all right, if they're in as an attendee,
Well, they were as a presenter. They're showing as a presenter.
as a presenter.
And we
on the
have a
bottom right
hand
here.
raised as well, Greg.
I'm sorry, Greg, are they in as a panelist or an attendee?
They are in as a now the hand is raised now. Oh, the second person got their hand raised. Let me let's just table that issue. We'll go here. Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Greg. Are you referring to the person dialed in on a phone number?
Yes.
We
yes.
can simply just disable talking for that attendee unless there's a need to re-enable it.
Okay. Let's go ahead and do that for now.
Okay.
I'm going to bring in H. Corliss.
All set. And anyone who is an attendee, if you don't want to bring them as a panelist, you can simply allow them to talk as an attendee, and they can participate and provide comment in that way.
Okay. Mr. and Ms. Corliss, you are with us and you're muted.
Yes, this is Harry Corliss. I'm also one of the neighbors on Green Street. Just wanted to convey that we are having some issues and some dispute about the maintenance of the road. There seems to be some maintenance that was not done, and as I'm finding out, that road was never completed. So we would wish for you to support us on the idea and make sure that we retain some leverage in terms of completing the road.
Very good. Very good. Thank you for your input.
So,
all right. I'm going to move him back to all right. We're back here. So Mia, you said the options we have is one option is to deny, or there's nobody here to present the case. If we deny, what's the implication there? Oh, you're muted, Mia.
Worst case scenario is they'd have to reapply.
Does that cost anything?
There's no fee to apply for a certificate of compliance. Just it's more paperwork. It's tedious.
Well, it seems to me that there are some significant issues here that have been going on for a while, and I'm not sure they're going to be resolved before December.
Yeah, it also seems to me that the one that they filed the certificate of compliance. It's not really complying right now either. So I guess to me, it seems like, I think we'd be fine to deny it and wait for the project to be finished, and then, a real certificate of compliance to come in front of us.
Or just leave it on the agenda too,
Yeah, I mean,
either way.
Either way, I'm fine. It doesn't matter much to me.
I don't like to carry things along the agenda too much if it has a real open end to it. So my preference would be to deny and then let them refile.
Can I make a motion to deny it?
Because I would make that motion. I will.
Right.
I am making that motion.
Okay.
I will second you in your motion.
Seconded by Kelly Marston. So this is a denial on the partial certificate of compliance for 0 Green Street, Lot 4B. Roll call vote, Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Diane Gouldner,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
And it just didn't meet your requirements, right? There's a list of requirements for your survey compliance and it didn't meet those.
Requirements, no. Nope.
Okay.
All right, that covers the COCs, Mia. I think we're into a couple informal discussions.
Okay.
Mount Pisgah Conservation Area Update.
I got the trail cameras, finally bought them. It's not easy to buy things with your tax dollars, which is how it's supposed to be, right? Got my hands on 6 of them, but I had to get long story short, I had to use a municipal check. And by the time I got the check in hand, they had run out of the model I wanted. So I have 6 of a model that I'm unfamiliar with. So I'm testing one of them on Todd's property, just to make sure it's what we want. I hung it a few days ago, make sure I know how to use it. And that I know what I want. Also order the signs. The sign guy is printing those up for us. I think what else up there? The ATV, Greg, you had asked about the ATV. There is no movement. I can't seem to get the funding approved. I mean, technically it's approved, but I'm not able to move it forward any further.
What is the roadblock?
The administrator's office has said to hold off until they work out the police negotiations or budget, or I'm not sure. I've been told to wait. It's above my pay grade.
Okay.
All right, well, I mean, budgets are an interesting topic these days, I'm sure, at Town Hall, so. All right, how many signs are we putting up, Mia?
I know there's 2 in the parking area that are going to say this area is under surveillance. And then there's going to be a few, just not a trail. So up on the loop trail, there's sort of a second entrance to a connector that leads through private property. So it's just going to say not a trail, leads to private property. So not very many. Up on the Sparrow reroute, there's some temporary signage that was put up by a Trails Committee member just because he's had to reroute the trail twice because someone put it back. So I support, he put it up and he's like, I put this up because I don't want to do it again. So we can replace that temporary signage with this, PVC permanent signage.
Has there been more activity up there?
I haven't been up. No, I went up once. I didn't see anything. No recent cutting.
Can I ask a random question about trail maintenance? I'm on the Facebook group, the North Road Trail Walkers, it's a great group, but I noticed there are people that post when they do trail maintenance, they go through with brush hogs and stuff. Do we permit that? Or is there like a committee that just has like a running go for it?
It's the Trails Committee. Right now, the official Trails Committee members, they just added a new member, Bill Cobb. Mm-hmm. So you might see Bill is, I guess he's been maintaining trails in Maine on the state trails up there and national ATV trails. So they vetted him and he's more than qualified. Most people who use the bush hog, it's not a bush hog, it's a commercial grade mower that they bought. Yep. And so
I was impressed. I was like, is this just a resident that's just boom,
No, it's Bob. Bob and Brian. They are mostly ones, but any Trails Committee member, they've been trained, they have their safety gear. I've been called by the police who's saying, hey, there's a guy walking around with a chainsaw. And my first question is he wearing goggles? So he's probably not one of ours. Like if he's just walking around with a chainsaw, well, those people know and I tell him to go home and join the Trails Committee. So, so they got a new member, Bill Cobb, and Bill, Brian, and Bob are doing a lot of work this time of year.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And Boy Scouts, but they reach out. The Boy Scouts reach out and it's usually under their supervision. There's a few others too. Jamie DeSottles, or just tells he's a local firefighter. He's sort of an impromptu member. He usually partners up with Trails Committee members. Who else? There's a few, but they're members.
Mia, the award, that was nixed, right? Or is that still in limbo?
Which
The
award?
reward we're going to offer for information leading
It
to the
was-
conviction and.
It was
was
nixed. There was no way to fund it.
Okay.
I thought you said award. I would like to propose you consider issuing an award for volunteer recognition. Maybe an annual award, maybe it's something we could do in the spring in coordination with Earth Day, because your Trails Committee just really puts in a lot of their time and goes above and beyond. A lot of energy they put in, and I'd like to see them recognized in some way. So is that, what do you think? Yeah.
Are we talking a
lose?
plaque or a trophy or?
Yeah, I guess just, a volunteer recognition award. And it would just be, a piece of paper, we might mount it or frame it, and you'd each sign it, just saying, maybe give one per year, 2021 Trails Recognition Volunteer Award or something like that.
I like it. Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
All right, we'll coordinate it maybe with the Earth Day events.
That's in May?
I'll let them know so that they can try to outcompete each other.
Anything else on Mount Pisgah? We good?
No, and the flags are up on Edmund Hill. You had approved last month that they could go ahead and flag a switchback trail going from the summit down to the senior center. I'm walking that tomorrow with Brian Belfer. He's the one that flagged it, just to take a look at it, maybe hang some extra flags. And then if we don't make any changes, then next month, or I'll send out an email, just have you go out and look at it. And then hopefully next month we'll come in and ask for your approval to cut it in. And the Trails Committee is also on their agenda coming up. They're meeting this Thursday. And another member asked me, also on Edmonds Hill, I guess, so Forrest Lyford, he's a local geologist. He's been on the Trails Committee for a long time. He is working on that switchback trail in Edmund Hill to try to highlight some of the unique geological features of the hill. And so as part of that, they were thinking about incorporating an interpretive trail. So there's really nothing, that's going to be on the agenda. I don't have any more information yet, is that we're working on creating some type of interpretive trail.
All right, good update.
Thanks.
Concom representatives, review of our committees, our commissions, representatives on the various boards. There were 3: open space, earthworks, and groundwater advisory. Mia, was this a matter of wanting to rotate, or do we want to see if anybody wants out or wants on, or what?
This is from you, Greg. You're looking to leave open space. Greg is looking for someone to replace him on the Open Space Committee as the Conservation Commission representative. Tom had suggested that he might want to join. He is currently the earthwork. Diane is the groundwater. And, Dan is a Board of Selectmen appointee on the Open Space Committee. You could move him over to represent the Conservation Commission, but then that also means we have to find a new seat. So you could appoint, the Conservation Commission can appoint someone else like Tom or Kelly to serve on the Open Space Committee, and Dan could keep his Board of Selectmen appointed position, or you could appoint Dan as the Conservation Commission representative, and then we'd find a new Board of Selectmen appointed position for the Open Space Committee. Is that clear?
Murky, but yes.
So let's start there.
Dan, what do you think about that? I mean, you want to stay on. We talked about that last month. You want to stay on. You're an added value to the Open Space Committee.
Yeah, I do want to stay on. I'm happy to represent the Concom and free up a space on the Open Space Committee. Let someone else in town, maybe there's someone else who might like to participate. That's
New
fine
blood,
with
maybe.
me.
Okay, good. That's one. Let's do that.
Is there any other commissioner that wants to serve on open space? Is anyone itching to serve on the Open Space Committee?
Kelly, control yourself. Okay.
If I could trade a kid, I would do it, but I'm tapped out.
My husband told me no more. He's like, no more boards and committees.
I got the same ultimatum. No more.
So Tom is on earthwork. He's not here, so we can't really deal with that unless he's here. Diane, Groundwater Advisory Board, you've been on there, you enjoy on there? Do you
I'd
want to
like
stay on?
off too.
You want to get off?
Yeah. if I
Okay.
could, but every time I think about it and I go around the circle here and say, that's not gonna happen. Maybe the next time we get a new member or something.
Well, does anybody here want to get on groundwater advisory?
Anybody? Justin, anybody?
It doesn't meet that often. Sometimes it meets only maybe half a dozen times a year, so it's not bad in that respect. But
Okay, well, Diane, it's you.
I know,
Okay,
I fully understand.
okay, fair enough. All right, so do we have to vote, Dan, me, or is that just we just make the decision and go from there? I think the chair can make that decision, right?
I think you have to appoint Dan as your Concom representative to the Open Space Committee. And then I'd have to notify the Board of Selectmen that their person has been moved to a different seat.
Okay, so shall we vote that? To make Dan Clark the open space representative from the Conservation Commission.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second by Kelly. Roll call vote. Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Diane Gouldner,
Yes,
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
Yes.
and I say yes. Thank you, Dan.
Sure.
And we can look to you for updates we have during this meeting, which is fine.
Okay, will do.
And Diane, let's keep the groundwater advisory in the back burner for now. So we might be able to do something there. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Diane. And thank you, Dan. And thank you, Tom, who's not here.
CPC applications.
Okay. The Open Space Committee plans to apply for $400,000 towards the Open Space Fund, and they're looking for a letter of support.
Sure. Why not?
Denied.
Do I hear a motion?
I so move. They can have $400,000.
Motion by Diane. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Dan Clark. Roll call vote. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Diane Goldner,
Yes,
Todd Helwig,
No.
Kelly Marston.
Yes.
I vote yes. So they get a letter of support.
Okay. The next is the Recreation Department is looking for a letter of support because they are going to be applying to CPC for funding for a feasibility study for a dog park. The town administrator assigned staff. It was Scott Charpentier, the DPW director, Allie Lane, the rec director, and myself representing you, Conservation, to try to come up with a short list of properties. And we did. And now the next step for this size project, if it's going to be a town-owned dog park, is to do a feasibility study. The feasibility study is required by our in-town project managers, which in this case is the it's kind of dual hats, the DPW director and the town administrator. They have certain pathways that projects follow, and they have decided that this project, if it's going to be a town-owned dog park, requires a feasibility study. Just like the fire station required a feasibility study, White Cliffs required a feasibility study. Things like the town common did not, because that was a smaller project, grant funded, that kind of thing. So our town staff project managers have decided that a feasibility study is required to move forward on this project.
The town common is a smaller project than the dog park.
I was told, but I am not the project manager in town. I was told by the project managers that a feasibility study would be required to move forward on this project.
What are they looking for?
They're looking to assess I have notes. I have to go back a little bit. It's 4 or 5 properties, and they have to go through each one, and they do a feasibility study on each property.
And what are they looking for money?
$40,000.
We're only gonna have like $50 in the account this year.
It'll be
Or
a
CPC.
one-page study. That's it. So
yes or no?
so
Maybe
Mia,
they'll have one of those fancy agility parks in the dog park.
I don't think they'll get into the depths. They'll just look at size, accessibility, parking, wetlands, resources, groundwater, that kind of thing. Abutters, the pros and cons for each of the sites. And then they'll use a feasibility study to pick one of those sites and move forward.
Support the rec department CPC application.
What's that?
This is looking for a letter from us.
A letter of
Support the rec
support.
department's application. for
It's the
CPC
Recreation
Lake
Department's
Dog Park.
application.
So I mean, we hear a lot about dog parks being a top priority in town for that. So I think moving forward with that's a good idea. In terms of a letter of support, I don't have a problem with that personally.
Yeah, I'll just say too, from the master plan side of things, when I was on that committee, there was a lot of talk about the dog park and having a dog park and the want and need and desire for everybody to have a dog park as long as it's located in a good spot. So I think this is, kind of in line with what we're hearing on the master plan side of things too.
Mia, is this the same letter of request that you made with the Open Space Committee?
Yes.
I vote that we write a letter of request for the dog park.
A letter of support for the Recreation Commission. Okay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Second.
Is that Dan seconded? Did I hear a second?
Justin.
Justin
No, I
seconded.
didn't.
Okay, sorry.
Double second.
Roll call vote. Dan Clark,
To be consistent, I'm gonna say no.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Diane Goldner,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
No.
Kelly Marston,
Yes.
and I'll say yes.
So that passed with Justin, Diane, Kelly, and Greg 4-2.
Anybody want to guess what my vote's going to be next month?
No.
I don't think it will come back next month.
No, I'm in on the community preservation meeting.
Let CPC shake it out. Let them shake it out.
Yeah. They can figure it out.
Yep. They have the purse strings.
Sure, Todd
Southborough,
can find money somewhere.
Southborough Trails Committee application to update public access plan.
So the Southborough Trails Committee is also requesting a letter of support. Let me just get this to you. I think I forwarded you this email, did I not? There's a letter of support on behalf of the Burrows Loop Trail Initiative to DCR to encourage public access plan update for Southborough to close the gap involving the peninsula parcel north of Route 30 near the Fayetteville Dam. And so they're just asking DCR to update their public access plan to allow public access. And this will open up one of the last pieces of the Burrows Loop Trail. That's why you're brought in.
They're not looking for money.
Nope, just a letter.
I don't know if anybody. Go
Not
ahead.
looking for our money, Todd. Not looking for our money. So,
It still might be your tax dollars because DCR will have to spend money
Yeah.
to update the public access plan.
So I would move to support it. Actually, I've walked almost all of the Burrows Loop Trail, and that part of it is on road without that being opened, and it is a dangerous road walk over there.
Is that where that sharp kind of turn, that hairpin
Yep.
turn is, right? Yeah,
Yep.
that's tricky.
do you have any concerns on this one? No? Yes? No? Then we need a motion to
So moved.
write.
Second.
Second by Kelly. Roll call vote. Dan Clark,
I'm gonna abstain.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Diane Goldner,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Kelly Marston.
Yes.
I'll vote yes.
Okay, I'll get that drafted.
All right. Done.
Let me just take a look over the agenda because last week we missed something last month.
I got a question here too, Mia. Did you see the notification from MAC came out on this morning or this afternoon on the change to some dates and so forth around the COVID emergency declaration?
Yes, and I think they're looking for support on that. To contact your legislators?
Nope, it just says, please share this information with your commissions and staff.
Oh, okay, okay. We are all caught up. You've been meeting and you're all caught up. So, other commissions who haven't been meeting or who have, suspended indefinitely the issuances of orders or the openings of public hearings, they're
mostly around
suddenly,
extensions.
they are suddenly going to get hit with all that. As of December 1st, they're going to have to open all those hearings and issue all those orders, but we are all caught up. So it's not going to affect you.
All right. Anybody have anything they want to bring up? Any questions or comments or points of interest or? What's coming down the road? We'll see. What sounds like we're going to see West Street next month.
Yep, I'm hearing an A&R plan came in. It doesn't have any of the utilities or driveways on it. It just has the lot lines. And I don't know if I brought it up with you, but the land had previously been in 61A, so we had to go see if the town had right of first refusal. It was removed from the 61A program a few years ago, so the town does not have right of first refusal anymore. And from just initial viewing, I didn't even get a copy of the A&R, but I took a look at the digital version and it looks like it's going to follow the plan that you had discussed with them with the common drives. But otherwise, no. Trying to think what else.
What's the address? Do you know on that?
8595 West Street. I also received calls from people on Lydia's Way. The development is being proposed. Trying to think, it's in a Pleasant Street address, like 100 Pleasant Street or something. They demanded to see our plans, but we don't have any plans yet. So there may be some development coming in there.
And the piece of land we're talking about, if you go down West Street, you know where Cherry Street comes in onto
Yeah,
West?
I live right there.
Okay.
That's why I was curious.
It's right in the corner, then Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
I think it's mostly 2-acre lots. 4 or 5 houses, depending what they come in with.
All right. Nothing else, Mia, you can think of?
I don't think so.
Next meeting is December 14th, right?
Yeah.
December 14th?
That's right.
13th.
December
That's
13th?
a Sunday, I believe, isn't it?
Okay, then whoever typed this up got all the dates wrong on the end.
Oh, I did.
Goodness.
Yeah, December 14th is the next meeting.
Anybody have a conflict with that they know of now? It's here. Okay. We know things do change and things come up, but okay, good. All right. So we've got Mia.
Okay.
Kelly, you're out of here in plenty of time. We need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Kelly. Roll call vote. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Diane Goldner,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Kelly Marston.
Yes.
And I also vote yes. Very good, folks. Thank you. Stay well over the holiday,
Mhm.
and
You
we
too.
will talk to you soon.
All right.
Happy Thanksgiving.
All right.
Yep.
See you guys.
later.
Same to you.
Yeah.
Thanks.